Well, my name is Mary Carolyn, and I am a Master Gardener intern. I guess graduate this December, November, whenever we have that. And also for me in December is I will be graduating with a master's degree in clinical nutrition, and I also have an herbal certificate. And so one course that I studied in my master's program that I thought was so interesting was food policy. And we had all kinds of books to read, and that just happened to be a very interesting topic to me. And one teeny tiny fraction of food policy is the discussion of organic versus local. And I feel that people are always wondering, because I always wondered, which is better? So that's what we're going to talk about. Feel free to jump in and ask any questions, or if you have a comment, that's fine too. So the foundational baseline of organic versus local has a lot to do with food politics, industry control of our food supply, regulations, USDA, and what growers can and cannot do, and what we all have access to. So learn about it and then do your best. So which is healthier? The short answer is it's a little bit of a toss-up, and you have to look at case by case for yourself. In other words, if you have access to local food because you garden, and you also are near, say, an apple orchard and can pick apples this time of year. And my Thursday presentation is going, or whatever day is today, the 13th, Tuesday, I will be doing apple varieties. So it really depends. If you have access to local and you know the farm very well, you can ask them about the pesticides they use. But the advantages of local produce are that they have less travel time usually. So the least travel time is you grow your own tomatoes, grow your own apples, your strawberries, and so forth. The second least travel time is going to a local farm very close by, where you're going and maybe picking your own produce, but you don't know exactly what they're putting on it, as you do in your own yard. And then the third is when, if you walk into the store and they have labels in the produce section that say local, and that's usually regional. It doesn't necessarily mean they're right next door down the street, but it's regional. So there's still some travel time involved. So I would say pick your own farmer's market, and then the store, have them a little out of order. So another thing that benefit of using local versus organic is there are probably fewer sprays, wax is sprayed on it so that they can travel. Ripening agents are sprayed on fruits so that they ripen, so they're picking them unripe and then spraying them ripe, or putting a ripening agent. They might put clementines in an orange bag. You get home, you open a bag of grapefruits, you think, oh, these grapefruits looked so great in the store, but then you open the bag and they don't look as great. So if food is local and has less time to travel, they don't have to use as many ripening agents, if any. They can pick them and get them right to the people who want them. But local farmers may use pesticides. If you're in that business and you lose your whole crop and go out of business, that doesn't work for farmers. If you're growing your own food, like some of us do, you have a nice garden and you grow your own tomatoes, you don't have to use any pesticides. We don't use any at all. And we always have great fruits and vegetables with zero additives to the soil, except the composting, using fruit and vegetable scraps. Nothing has any pesticides on it. So we can control that. And with a local farmer, you can ask them, hey, what do you use? And they may be able to tell you, because if they're organic, they might be organic but not certified. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Why wouldn't you be certified? So organic means no pesticides at all. It has the label from USDA that it is certified organic. However, they might still have travel time and ripening agents, and sometimes more expensive, but I actually did a project on that in one of my classes, and it really just depends. So if you have a farmer's market that you go to and you consistently see the prices and compare them to whatever grocery store you go to, then you can know that for yourself. So it really varies.
One question, Mary
Sure.
Carolyn,
Oh yeah.
that popped up. It said, is there a mileage rule which makes something labeled, or how many miles, state or federal rules that apply to, I guess, our local produce when they're in farmers markets?
What a great question. I don't know offhand, but there are regions. And so if say Giant Food has a local signage on their produce, and then they say local, it might be a cutout boundary of a region that's for certain just defined somehow. Otherwise, right, they wouldn't be able to call it local. But I don't know offhand what those rules are specifically, and it's a pretty big region. So something can be called local and travel quite far. And does that help the question, hopefully?
Yes, that was from Pat Murphy. So I don't know if Pat has any other questions regarding that. Yes, she said it does help her. So thank you.
Okay.
I'm curious if I could just ask a question, Mary.
Sure.
Does Northern Virginia have any local cooperatives then? I know we've got a lot of farmers markets and things in there that you know of.
Yes, they do. And I can't recall the name of them, but if you Google Virginia co-ops, I've Googled it before and came up with a whole bunch.
Oh, great.
And I know there are some in Bluemont, Berryville, Leesburg, Poolesville, Maryland. So there are quite a few.
Terrific. Thanks.
Sure. So the term organic, just by dictionary, is, sometimes people say grassroots organic, growing organically, or we came up with this idea organically from our own team. So generally, it's derived from living matter, like when you compost and then the soil is organically enriched, grown in organic soil, pesticide-free, free of additives, chemical-free, and natural are all potential definitions, but you don't know what you're getting necessarily because you don't, you only know what you grow yourself, honestly. But organic farming methods are, by definition, to be produced without the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, or any artificial agents. And USDA regulates this label organic. So it's called the National Organic Program of USDA. You can look that up and see all kinds of information. This was the source for much of my information. And so the food products under this jurisdiction, FDA regulates food labeling and safety, and the National Organic Program specifically regulates organic. And if you want to read a great book, there's Food Politics is one, and An Appetite for Profit is another. I don't recall the very famous author who wrote those two, but it's called An Appetite for Profit and Food Politics. And these are very interesting books about food labeling and safety, and there's a lot that people can get away with in labeling. So that's why you can't believe every label you see, because there might be some percentage and thresholds embedded in there, and then they're allowed to say it's free of this or that. But it's really about which products have been formulated and tested over and over to not have any additives at all. And so when you find a reputable company or a reputable supplier, then you know, that's something, even if people are looking for supplements or essential oils or whatever you're looking for, tea, you know, what's really in there. So the National Organic Program has regulations for production, handling, and labeling, and then the annual reviews that the growers have to go through to pass these regulations. But, you know, all kinds of things can go on behind the scenes, or, you know, you don't know. Maybe they check the box and say, yep, pass, and then you don't really know. If you can grow anything on your own, it's fortunate to be able to do that, even if it's just herbs in your kitchen. So that is that about the regulations. And this just is more about that this National Organic Program specifically regulates the use of the term. And so the process of becoming certified is quite expensive. And that's why sometimes a farmer's market, go ahead and ask, what pesticides, what do you use on your products? Because some of these local farmers at farmers markets cannot afford to be certified organic. It's cost prohibitive. It would run them out of business, but they still strive to be an organic grower, and they want to, you know, have this wonderful produce for people. So they have to pass an annual review and have a list of standards that they pass within USDA. They have to maintain this credential, which possibly involves training and in other inspections of what they're actually putting on the produce. Might involve surprise inspections. But there's a certifying agent, and they review the application to verify those standard practices to make sure the grower is complying. And then an inspector goes on site to compare their answers to what's going on. And once they are settled in with that process, then it's fairly easy for a grower to maintain that, unless they have a problem where there's bad weather or there's some pest and their crop is destroyed, and now it's very expensive to maintain that that certification. But they actually do have some help, and I think if they you know, I can't remember, but there is some help along the way if they can't afford to do that. This is another interesting thing, land transition. So land that is certified organic, if produce is coming from that land, it can't have any contaminants in it. There has to be a transition period where the land is cleared out, cleaned out, or allowed to settle down or be remediated. So there's a lot of land out there that you don't want to have your house on and drink the water from because something was built on that, or maybe there's electronic waste, which my daughter, who specializes in this, says electronic waste is the worst. People throwing away different electronics, and where does it all go? Into our water supply. So one thing I'd like to underscore is we cannot control the assault of environmental toxins that we have. We just can't. You know, we breathe the air, we're drinking the water. Our water is as clean as it can be, but it's impossible to impossible to have it perfect. So what can you do in your own life to minimize pesticides and maybe filter your water with a good water filter, or not treat your lawn? We just live with the weeds because it's another toxins. 5G will be the next one. So taste, that's really up to you. If I think that, of course, if fruit or vegetable is fully ripened, then it does taste better. But you might have specific things that you shop for, organic fruits and vegetables that you like, and so, you know, sometimes we can find certain treats. You know, maybe there's a certain mango type that you buy, or a certain farmer that you go to, a certain farmer's market, and you always get this or that. Then that, of course, is up to you. So the National Organic Program website is an interesting website to go to if you want to learn more. And